Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. To start things off, first up, I believe this article was actually found by a YouTuber known as Alex Cobb. He normally does just videos on Ripple and XRP, but if you are into Ripple and XRP, you should definitely go follow him because he has a lot of great content. This video is not specifically about Ripple and or XRP, but it's about what's happening over the last couple of months in the cryptocurrency space. We've spoken a little bit about this before. You may have heard me ramble a tiny bit when I spoke about the happenings in the cryptocurrency world and exactly what I think or thought or actually is happening. So this was written by someone named Nick Raka, and I think he's actually taking from something that was actually written by someone named Tika Tiwari. So I'm going to start to read through parts of it. The very first part I'm actually not going to read through. She, I believe Tika is a woman. Sorry if I'm mistaken. Actually goes through I'm talking about a TV show called Deadwood that was on HBO from 2004 to 2006, where pretty much it was about the gold rush that was happening during that time. Long story short, there was a part of the TV show where one of the prospectors figured out how to actually scare the other people out of the gold mining business by telling them that pretty much that the US was going to seize all of their land. And since they were going to seize their land, they might as well just sell it to Hearst in order to, just make a profit, sell it off. I'll give you a couple pennies for it. And apparently this actually worked very well. A lot of people sold their land to this guy literally for pennies. And then as time went on and people realized that he was lying, he actually ended up becoming one of the richest men in the entire world, at least in this TV show. So this is kind of where it comes from. It comes down to people lying in order to get you out of something that they know is valuable because they want to take all of it for themselves. So every day we hear in the press how the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is cracking down on cryptocurrencies. We hear that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC, is starting a new investigation. We hear JP Morgan CEO saying he'll fire any of his employees buying crypto. Then we find out his traders in London are buying with both hands. I don't know if you guys remember that. I read about this a couple of months ago. This was actually major news because, and we'll get to Jamie Dimon in a couple of seconds, simply because this is the start of banks talking about that they did not care for crypto, like more harshly than they had before in the past. And this is when they had started banning people from buying crypto on credit. He literally said in the press, he said, if anyone who works for me is found to be holding or buying or touching crypto in any way, they will be fired without hesitation. And then we come to find out that this ban is not a blanket ban across everyone, as some people were exempt and they were buying crypto for him. We hear central banks float stories designed to scare and ward off investors. In February of 2018, the Polish central bank even admitted it hired a firm to spread a smear campaign against cryptos. And do you remember the IMF head, Christine Lagarde, saying central banks need to band together against cryptos, which is even funnier because we have so many world banks and central banks now talking about creating their own cryptocurrencies after they said that they wanted to completely stay away from them earlier this year. And I will also get to the Polish thing in a couple of seconds. This is not, I'm sure, the only instance that we have or have had. We may just not know about them. It's actually quite interesting that the Polish central bank actually admitted that they hired people to go onto YouTube to create a smear campaign against cryptocurrencies, which is kind of weird because you would never hear anyone admit that. But like I said, I am more than certain that they were not the only ones, because over the last 6 to 7 months, you may have noticed every single major institution, news network, they're constantly coming down on cryptocurrencies, talking about how bad they are. Don't get into them. Something's wrong. Even if they have a segment where they do talk positively about cryptocurrencies, usually the next thing that they make sure to mention is how they can be used illicitly, how the governments have not regulated them. Don't trust them. Don't get into them. Something is wrong. Anyway, I'll continue. All year long, we've been under assault by rumors of central bank collusion against crypto, threats of bans, endless investigations, and the ceaseless drumbeat of negativity from the traditional press. And yet, amid this shower of negative news, careful observers will have noticed institutions are actually running into crypto investments. Today, I'm seeing banks, regulators, and the press drown the market in negative news. They're using the same old trick Hearst, who is the person from the TV show, used to scare speculators so he could scoop up the homestake mine for pennies. I said this before in another video. I don't remember exactly which one, obviously, because I make a lot of videos. The fact that the market started going down around January and February was like the beginning of the, not the end, but like the beginning of the bad times. I kept on saying, I said, don't you think it's kind of weird that the market is slowly or rapidly falling at this point after we hit 20,000? But for some reason, we had a multitude of news from institutional investors, banks, crypto exchanges, and other very rich, powerful families, whatever you want to call them, that they were actually getting into crypto. And I said, maybe this will stop. Maybe they're all, speculating. Maybe, they are hoping that the prices will go back up again. But as we got around to the time, we had a lot of news that Bitcoin was, I think it ended up hitting like 5,900, somewhere around there. It scratched the surface of this amount. And yet we had even more news that these, custody things were actually being made, and Coinbase had this, and this was also doing this, and this was moving to this country, and this country was more accepting. And I said, don't you think it's kind of weird that the prices are completely slamming down, and the normal people, that's me and you, were supposed to be afraid of this market, and we were told not to get into it. We were told not to touch it. We were told that the prices are going to go back down. We had news that someone said that the price of Bitcoin was going to fall down to $500. There was something a day or two ago where someone said it was going to go to $43. And yet, in the middle of all of this, we have banks mining cryptocurrencies, buying cryptocurrencies, creating secondary crypto banks, and other type of the word's not inclusion. What's it called? Like custody accounts that are. I think the first bank that said this was a bank in Canada, and this was the beginning of the year as well. And it all seemed a bit odd to me. Institutions are getting the best prices on crypto since mid-2017. While the average investor is panic selling, big investors are buying 100%. Over the last 90 days, we've seen some of the biggest investors in the world flood into cryptos. Wall Street investment bank Goldman Sachs announced it would launch a crypto trading desk. Susquehanna, the 12th largest trading firm in the world by volume, announced it would start trading cryptos too. The firm even went so far as creating its own custody company to hold its cryptos. Billionaire investor George Soros, one of the world's greatest moneymakers, gave the green light to his team to buy cryptos. I remember when this was in the news, a lot of people, I don't know that much about George Soros, but I remember the day I made that video, a lot of thumbs down. A lot of people do not like George Soros. I have not dug deep into what he has done, but I assume it is not very nice things. But the fact that he got into it, it interested a lot of people, but a lot of people also quite upset that he would even think of touching cryptos. Coinbase, one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, launched a crypto index fund for wealthy investors and institutions. A lot of people were upset at that as well. People kept on saying, why now where we are right now, especially in July of this year, it all kind of makes sense why everything has happened the way that it happened. We were all pretty perplexed and said, why is Coinbase launching things just for wealthy investors and institutions? Like, why are they not focusing on us? I told you guys before, I am certain that we are no longer in this market to them. I think these companies could actually care less if we ever touch crypto again, because they are betting on the fact and think, or probably pretty sure at this point, that the only people who they really care about getting into this market are the people who are moving away from stocks and trying to get into cryptocurrency. So it's pretty much people who have large amounts of wealth and money. So everything has completely shifted. We were the focus group, or the targeted group, for a couple of years from Coinbase, from a lot of other places as well. But it seems like we are being put on the back burner as they just continuously try to work for the wealthiest out there. Even when it comes to adding other coins, we know that there are a lot of other coins that have been deemed to not be securities, and they have not added any of them in. Instead, just working on trying to make more things for wealthy institutions. Financial services company State Street said it is considering acting as a custodian for Bitcoin. State Street has $2.7 trillion under management. Custodian things are also a very big thing right now. Wellington Capital, with over $1 trillion of assets under management, stated its intention to start trading Bitcoin as well. The Rockefeller family's venture capital firm, Venrock, said it's also buying cryptos, and that's like 1 out of 300. If you guys have paid attention or have been watching my last 300 videos, you may have noticed, especially since the beginning of, once the prices started going down, this is when it, like, the weirdest part for me, because it doesn't make a lot of sense that you understand that they know or are planning something that the normal person does not understand or does not know, or we are just not in that closed room that is locked off, because it doesn't, nobody would ever jump into a pool that was emptying out. No one is jumping into a pool where there's 1 centimeter left of water. You would fall in and break your legs. But for some reason, as the market continued to tank, all of these very wealthy people and wealthy families and wealthy capital firms decided now was the time to get into cryptocurrencies. Very odd. Or not very odd at all as we continue to read through this. Every important lawyer I talk to in the investment space is overwhelmed with crypto questions from their institutional clients. That's just the latest evidence that institutions are trying to get into the market, not stay out of it. They go on to say, friends, make no mistake, we're in the middle of a massive handover of wealth from individuals to institutions. I saw this happening after the housing crash in 2010 to 2012, when institutions started buying up foreclosures by the thousands, but individual investors couldn't get a mortgage. On a quick note on this, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Detroit. Detroit is I believe, a city in the United States, somewhere in the north. There was a time where Detroit was already kind of battered because of the market crash of 2008. And then around the same exact time, there was a huge thing I remember going on. I have a friend who lives in Florida who's really into real estate, and he told me to start looking into real estate in Detroit. And I remember I thought he was completely mad as he said it, and I was like, why would I do that? And I remember that same exact night, there was an article that I read about an investor from China who was buying neighborhoods all at once. And that's not one house, that's not houses, that's not a street, that's not an entire block. He was buying entire neighborhoods, around 46 blocks at the exact same time, more or less. And when you dig not even deeper, just on the surface, it was actually, there's such a problem with housing in Detroit that the government was actually selling houses for $1. So a lot of people, when you would look at the news and they would tell you about what's going on in Detroit, it was always about crime. It was always about this. It was always about don't go there. People are being shot. People are being killed. People are being murdered. The housings, they were showing the houses on the news, telling people not to go there. Don't buy these houses. They're dilapidated. But at the same exact time, when you looked on the news website and you look at documentaries of exactly what's happening there, this guy from China bought an entire neighborhood, I assume for only probably a couple $1 million, because you have to, also factor in the cost of the land as well. But since then, Detroit is actually moving up a tiny bit, if you will. People are building condos and stuff like that, and the condos are also being sold out extremely rapidly. So this is just something else that's also happening. I remember a lot of people, when they lost their homes in 2008, 2009, 2010, there was nothing but stuff on the news telling people not to get back into the housing crisis because it just was not worth it for them. It says, I saw in 2003, after the dot-com crash, when institutions started buying up internet and technology stocks on the cheap. But on CNBC, they kept telling the public it was too early to buy. I saw it during 1994 to 1995, when institutions scoffed outwardly about how dumb money was buying internet stocks while they were loading up as individuals were selling. Same exact thing we spoke about the internet yesterday when we were talking about it in another video. It's such a weird pattern because they continuously do this over and over. I've heard this many times from a lot of other major investors, but when I first got into investing, they said whenever you hear something on TV, try to look for something else. Try to figure out exactly what's really going on beneath the surface. Why would investors, why would George Soros, why would Warren Buffett, I know Warren Buffett has at least one Bitcoin. Why would all of these people care so much about cryptocurrencies if they didn't see it going anywhere? Why would you, how do I say this? You don't put time and effort into something that you don't believe is actually going to happen later on, or that is going to be something big that's going to make it. If they truly believed that cryptocurrencies were a farce, that all of this was fake, that it was all a real Ponzi scheme, they wouldn't care. They're already making their own money in stocks. Why would you care about what normal, average, everyday idiots or dumb people are doing in their spare time if you knew without a doubt that that we also were going to be making money as well? It's really weird and kind of sad that you have, or that we live in a world where people are so intent on making people who could otherwise become wealthy, they make sure that we get rid of our stuff as cheap as possible so they can snatch it all up and just become even wealthier. It's kind of insane. She says, I've seen this institutional blueprint for stealing wealth play out again and again. Don't be a victim of this strategy. The key is to focus on what institutions are doing, not on what they're saying. Across the world, institutional investors are embracing cryptos, not rejecting them. Just as George Hurst made a fortune using misinformation to buy the home stake mine on the cheap, institutions know that they will make vast fortunes buying cryptos at depressed prices. Otherwise, they just wouldn't bother with it. This is 100% true. Every time you hear, I'll say this first. I will never tell you ever what to do with your money. Make sure to always do your own research, but pay attention when you hear these people on TV talking about how much they hate crypto, how they can't stand crypto. No one should get into it. Why do you care so much? If you are worth $45 billion, why would you care what normal people are doing? Why are you telling normal people to get out of something that you do not believe in? So around, you may remember, a lot of people have told me that they got into the cryptocurrency market around December. You may have noticed around January and February, as the market was slowly falling, give or take whatever was actually happening at that time, we had so much news that actually ended up being completely false, 1000% false. And I'm just going to read through some of it. I'm not going to actually go through the articles. This one says South Korea bans anonymous crypto trades. And I think a day or two later, we had news that they were actually going to ban it completely outright. South Korea wants to ban crypto trade while government officials and big banks make millions. There was something as well. I don't know if I actually have it in one of these tabs. I do not. So when this actually happened, it was the leader of South Korea who said that he planned on banning it because he didn't like the idea of cryptocurrencies inside the country. And then we come to find out, this was 2-3 weeks ago, that the government actually said that they planned on banning cryptocurrencies. And then actually ended up saying that they planned on regulating it. And the reason why they were so late on regulations is that they didn't want to legitimize the cryptocurrency space. They said they tried to wait as long as they could before they gave actual rulings and laws and stuff like that, because they didn't want to popularize cryptocurrencies, because they know as well exactly where the market is going. This one says, Bitcoin continues rapid slide as Russia and China stoke regulatory fears. This is around the same exact time when we had news that China was just about all done with cryptocurrencies. And I've said in many other videos before, I am certain at some, if not this year, at the beginning of 2019, China is going to have a triumphant return to cryptocurrencies. It may be a bit more stringent and tighter than other countries, but they're definitely getting back into it. Same exact time we had something, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, do not 1000% quote me on this, I'm pretty sure the Central Bank of Russia said that they wanted to ban cryptocurrencies, and that's when Putin came forward and said that he did not care for crypto. It was time to be banned. 2 days later, both of them had backtracked, said that they definitely liked the idea of it, but they had to make proper rules on it. About a week and a half later, they also came forward and said, nope, complete change in plans, after they had mentioned that they planned on making their own cryptocurrency, that they then planned on banning cryptocurrencies again. There was also a dip in the market when this happened, and then they came back around 2 months later where they said that crypto was going to be allowed, but only for institutional investors. This constant back and forth was happening across multiple countries at the exact same time. And if you guys can find the video, I'm not going to look for that video. It's somewhere in January, mid to early January. I kept on saying, I said, don't you think it's weird that all these countries, it was day after day. It was every country. We had news about South Korea, and then it was about China, and then it was about Russia. It was all during the same week. None of them gave news in the exact same day as any other country, but they were all toppling out the news over the course of a 2-3 week period about banning, heavy restrictions, stopping this, stopping ICOs, banning whatever they were planning on doing. But it was day after day. It was so coordinated. It was so, if every country had come out over the course of a 3-day period, I would have been like, okay, that, whatever. They're all terrified. You can't drop news from 15 different countries over the course of a 3-week period on every single weekday. It just didn't make any sense. We had no news over the weekends. Lo and behold, on Mondays, we had news once again from countries who were talking about banning cryptocurrencies. This one says, China is moving to eliminate all cryptocurrency trading with a ban on foreign exchanges. This one says, Bitcoin, is it worth the risk? This is from the end of the year as the prices were starting to edge up, but slowly, also we were at that, really scared period. From China to Singapore, Asia countries are increasingly uneasy with the rise of Bitcoin. This is the Poland's central bank admits to sponsoring a smear campaign on cryptocurrencies. I think this was one of the weirdest days that we actually had in the crypto news for quite some time. Like I said before, it's kind of, we know or supposed to know that governments didn't care for cryptocurrencies. But the fact that an entire country came forward and told us that they actually, if you actually look for this entire article, I'm not going to read through this. Obviously, like I said, wow, there's a coin here called Bitcoin Supreme, where pretty much they had said that I think they hired 2 or 3 YouTubers to make videos specifically against Bitcoin. And they found YouTubers who are actually getting millions of views on their videos every single day. And when I think I actually found one of the videos that was completely in Polish, didn't understand it, obviously. But you could tell by the downvotes and some of the comments and like the little angry like emojis and stuff like that, people were not too happy with it. A lot of people also they don't like Bitcoin in the first place, and they thought that this was a great way to let other people know about the scam of cryptocurrencies. And then lo and behold, the entire thing was orchestrated by a central bank. I mean, how much more obvious can it possibly be, especially when the fact that they admitted it? Who admits that they tried to smear a digital protocol? It's actually kind of weird. And then we have Mr. Jamie Dimon, who during 2017, you may have noticed, he was in the news at least twice a week. And I don't mean that as a joke. There was a point where I got sick of actually saying Jamie Dimon's name. I actually said that in the video because I was every single day he constantly came forward. He made sure that every event, every single time there was, if someone turned the camera on, he was in his car driving as quick as he could so he could stand in front of it to talk about Bitcoin because he hated Bitcoin so much. And then out of nowhere, he states that he regretted calling Bitcoin a fraud and he believed in the blockchain technology. And then lo and behold, I'm pretty sure he has a crypto miner somewhere in his living room. Let's all admit it. I mean, not even that it is what it is. I think we should be used to this by now. I wonder, because I'm pretty sure that things like the gold rush, I'm sure exactly what that TV show made episodes on was probably something that definitely happened in real life. It's so obvious, and when it gets to a certain point, like I said, if the government doesn't care about crypto, why would they talk about it? Why would they need to get in the news? Why are they having what's it called? Something is happening a week or two from now where they're talking about like the future of money and cryptocurrencies, and this will be held within the US. It's all kind of, it's all orchestrated. It's very frustrating. And I feel it makes me annoyed because we will never, ever, 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 ever in our lives have an opportunity like this again. There will never be a point where we can buy these cryptos at these prices. There will never be a point in 20 years where you can tell somebody you put $1,500 into a digital currency and you ended up making $250,000. There is nothing, you can't make that with stocks. It takes about 30 to 40 years to make that, hopefully, with real estate. Gold and silver can't do that. No other asset class can do what crypto can. And there's so many people who have sold. And like I said before, they're going to be so annoyed when Bitcoin does eventually go back up to 20,000, possibly 50 or 60,000, like people have said during this year. Their predictions next year for $100,000 Bitcoin in 2019. People who sold or are selling right now or selling their XRP or selling their Cardano or selling their Ethereum, they're going to be so upset. And it's because of these tactics that they're using or that they have been using for so long to get people out of the market. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not as, I want to say financially savvy. Maybe I'm just not as malicious as other people. I think I'll use that word. Wouldn't you think that there would be more of wouldn't it be easier to tell the public to actually get into crypto to make sure and ensure its survival? Maybe like I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it weird. Maybe the way the rich people see it is that if they kick other people out of it and they get into it, they can kind of control the entire price. But I feel like if I had a country, line your pockets as much as you want. If you're rich, line your pockets up, but then, tell the normal people about it as well so that they can also get into it. I don't know. Maybe I have a different philosophy when it comes to making money. Maybe I just think differently. I don't really know, but I'd want other people to also be rich with me. I guess that's kind of where I differ. These people don't want other people to be rich with them. I think I just cleared up my own question. Anyway, to kind of finish this off, once the market kept on going down around February and January, this is when we first started hearing the first rumblings of institutional investors who are going to be getting into the market. And I noticed a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, especially on my videos and other people's videos as well, they've gotten very upset whenever I mentioned the word institutional investor, simply because I think people are, one, tired of hearing it, but everything is being geared specifically towards these people. But the fact that it's being geared towards them, or that money is entering the market, or that people are even buying these coins over the counter is, while the market is going down, is very indicative of the future of cryptocurrencies. I personally, myself, don't think that there's a future within the next 5 years where crypto will crash. Like I said, this is just me. Because of all the intense discussion around it. Make sure to watch TV shows. Make sure to read articles. Like I always say, do your own research. Find out exactly what's out there, because this is, at this point is no longer really odd. I mean, it's kind of just obvious exactly what's kind of going on in the entire space. But no one, if you had $1 trillion, would you care about people selling beans on the corner of your street? No, you wouldn't care. You would try and get those beans if you knew that those beans would eventually be worth a lot of money. Long story short, you guys kind of get what I'm saying. I really like this article. This is why I read it to you guys. Always read, always expand your mind, learn more about what you have your money in. It's still expected that 2018 is going to be a great year for cryptocurrencies. I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but I'm in it for the long haul. Regardless of what happens to the cryptocurrency space, it's been a great ride. So I'll see you guys possibly in 2020, and we can all discuss, hopefully, about our beach houses and all these other Lambos and things that other people are going to be buying. All right, everyone. That is definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you once again for all of the support. Don't forget to read about what you have your money in. And I will talk to you all soon. See you.